Hello and welcome to the Week 18 edition of the EstablishTheRun.com NFL Betting Show. My name is Adam Levitan, as always, joined by the king himself, Evan Silva, also joined by Mark from Cincinnati. Shout out HBO. Last betting show of the regular season. Obviously, a hectic week here in week 18. Evan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mark was trying to give me computer tips before the show. I felt disrespected. That's not how you speak to a tech lord. All right?
Tech lord. Evan had a great tweet yesterday. Obviously, the solo pod got us canceled on YouTube briefly. We've been reinstated, but we were canceled briefly from YouTube. And Evan said that he was okay with me getting canceled, but not bring down our entire YouTube operation. So
exactly.
But we're back. We're back here on YouTube. Mark, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, yeah, I'm disrespected, I guess, Evan, a little before the show, but I'm respecting him on the show, rocking this Larry Ogunjobi jersey, which I purchased a couple years ago in honor of Evan when I won my fantasy league. So shout out to Evan
awesome,
for getting me on the Ogunjobi train. Yeah.
Ogunjobi. I don't know why the Browns let him go. Hashtag Sashi pick, by the way. 7 sacks, 16 tackles for loss. He's been a stud. I think he just went on the COVID list, though, didn't he?
Yeah. Shout out Sashi. I still have my Sashi shirt, WWSD. What would Sashi do? Of course, Mark may be the only human in the United States with that jersey on right now.
Yep.
For sure. On today's show, we are going to make some picks, not just picks, some 5,000 star, gold star, can't lose locks of the week. I can't believe the one I actually lost last week, though. I had Ravens +4, which hit, but under 46.5 in Minnesota, Green Bay. Line closes like 41 or something after the Kirk Cousins news and all the cold weather. Still flies over the total. So that was super tilting for me. But anyways, today's picks are gold star locks. Before we get into it, if your season-long league just wrapped up and you're looking to get into the prop streets or into the DFS streets from now through Super Bowl, we do have weekly and monthly options available on the subscribe page. Check it out. All right. Mark, I'll give you the honors. We'll do 2 each here today. Mark, I'll let you go ahead and go first.
Cool. I'm not sure I deserve it after the 0 for last week, but let's try and get back on track in week 18. My first pick this week, obviously we have, a lot of motivation concerns and teams potentially resting. And I typically want to bet on teams that like aren't necessarily motivated to win. But the line might be inflated. This one, it's just, I don't know. It's a little interesting. I'm going to go with the Packers -3.5. They're playing at Detroit, and LaFleur and Rodgers have said, all week they're going to play. So I'd expect them to play at least the first quarter, if not the entire first half. And then, we kind of get the Rodgers pissed off narrative here, which was cycling a lot entering the season. Obviously, they got blown out week 1 against New Orleans, but, he's been playing with a chip on his shoulder. We have this MVP stuff swirling surrounding him. He came out calling that reporter a bum. I think he's going to want to come out and make a last week's statement here. The Seahawks just absolutely destroyed the Lions. I can easily see Rodgers throwing 3 to 4 touchdowns here in the first half, and the Packers going into halftime with like a 28-3 lead or, something along those lines. And then I think they're capable of kind of holding on to that lead in the second half. So, Jordan Love is, I don't know how capable he is, but they do have some capable skill players, and Amari Rodgers and Equinemius St. Brown and Patrick Taylor at running back, who could potentially come in and kind of hold the lead in the second half. So I'm betting on the Rodgers and the Packers getting out to a big lead and just being able to kind of coast the rest of the game against the Lions.
Yeah, my first thought was that Rodgers wasn't going to play at all, but I do think that he's gunning for this MVP and gunning for it pretty hard, and coming out and throwing a couple touchdowns in the first half, like Mark said, I think would absolutely cement it for Aaron Rodgers. He might have it already anyways in the eyes of most voters, maybe not that one guy who has, the vaccine bias or whatever is going on. But yeah, I mean, Tom Brady, I think, may not play a ton in his game either, so I'm not sure Tom Brady really has room to make up ground. The one thing I'll say about betting against the Lions is like they can backdoor, man. Like we saw it last week. They can score 30 points in a game. Like a lot of these teams that are bad can't do that. At least the Lions can backdoor it, but not a lot of backdoor opportunities when you're only laying 3.5 here. So Mark goes with Packers -3.5 in Detroit. Evan, you're up.
Yeah, that guy Hub Arkush has been like in the Chicago media for a really, really long time. He actually was one of the founders of, you remember Pro Football Weekly, which was sort of like a rumors based publication. I don't think it's around anymore. But now Hub Arkush is on like 670 The Score here, and I mean he's a Bears fan, so it's not. I'm sure that some of what he had to say was based on his like maybe the vaccine bias or whatever, but also like Aaron Rodgers like said, I own you to the Bears fan base or whatever, and I'm sure that factors into Hub Arkush's bias against Aaron Rodgers. And just the fact, I mean, Hub Arkush is like a sort of Bears fan. So, and I mean, he kind of tries to spin himself as objective, but he's a fan. And that shows up, when you listen to him. And I think it shows up in his, reticence to vote for Aaron Rodgers for MVP, which is ridiculous. He should have his ability to do that revoked, factoring his own fandom and personal biases into his MVP selection. Anyways, I'm going to go with an over. We've been riding hot with these overs. I mean, we're running hot. We've got 2 in a row. And I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes over 285 passing yards. I know that you have one that correlates with this, Adam. 285. I'm sorry, not 285, 268 and a half. It just went down. It was at 270 on DK like an hour ago. I bet it then. I'm going to bet it again because it just went down a few yards. He has not been getting there if you're just going to go from game, based on game log watching. But Kelsey's ready to roll. Tyreek is ready to roll. They are getting back Orlando Brown, who did not play in last week's game. Patrick Mahomes, left tackle. On the other side, the Broncos, their secondary has been decimated by injuries and I believe COVID. And then up front, they've also been missing guys. I think that Patrick Mahomes is generally going to have a clean pocket. The Chiefs can get the number 1 seed in the AFC if they win and Tennessee loses to Houston. Now you say, Tennessee, they're not going to lose. They already did lose to Houston. They lost to Houston a few weeks ago, like a month ago, 22-13, I believe it was. Tennessee has like found ways to lose to bad teams. They also lost to the Jets. So, and the Titans are still, the Texans are playing hard. I mean, it's not a gimme for the Titans. So I think that, I think that Patrick Mahomes is pretty much going to play the whole game unless it's a true blowout. And if it is a true blowout, I think we will have gotten the over on 268 and a half passing yards.
Yeah. Not only can the Chiefs win the number 1 seed, but I'd be pretty motivated if I was the Chiefs to get the number 2 seed, because the number 2 seed guarantees you get a game in Arrowhead to start your playoff run and another game in Arrowhead in the divisional round, assuming you win in the wild card. So I think the Chiefs are pretty motivated too. I'll talk more about this in a second here, but the market, I think, does not think that the Chiefs are necessarily as motivated. And there's always a little bit of hesitancy on my part to think that somebody out there knows something that I don't about how much these guys are going to rest and how much they're going to play. I'm going to go the side, though, for my first play that Evan already alluded to. And let me see if I can find the best line here. Yeah, there are some 10.5s out there. So 10.5 minus 110 Texans at home against the Titans. Evan already alluded to this, man. One of my favorite things in week 18 is the market overrating. And market alluded to it too. The market overrates teams that quote unquote need to win. The public assumes that just because a team needs to win, the other team's not going to play hard. The team will play better. It doesn't mean that the other team will play better. It just means that they have to win, period. Then maybe some of the more of their players will play. But the Texans are playing all their players anyways. They've been dead for months. And I think the Texans have played reasonably good football. I mean, I know they didn't play that well last week in San Francisco. That was a tough spot. Now they come home for the finale against a team they know well, getting 10.5 points here. I think this will be a close game. 10.5 is a ton. I just think Texans can even win the game. And I get Titans are super, super motivated. If they weren't super motivated, this line would be like 7 or 8. Because they're motivated, people think that's worth 2 or 3 points. I'm skeptical that it's worth that much. So give me the Texans plus 10.5 minus 110. Mark, back to you for your second 5,000 star gold play of the week.
Let's go. Yeah, I do like the Texans plus 10.5 as well. I have already bet that. I'm going to go with a game that matters to both teams a lot, and it's the second matchup of a divisional opponent, and that's going to be the 49ers and the Rams. I'm going to go 49ers plus 4.5 here. At a high level, Kyle Shanahan has kind of owned Sean McVay over the last few seasons. He's 5-0 against him last 3 years. And looking back, that's a couple of those starts have come with backup quarterbacks as well. And it seems like Trey Lance will be out there again. But overall, I think these two teams are pretty even. They're both top 10 and overall DVOA. Again, they both need wins here to help secure their playoff either seeding, or the 49ers need a win to help just get into the playoffs. So they're going to be very motivated here. I expect the 49ers to obviously run a lot more with Trey Lance, and that'll help shorten the game. I think the total is in the mid 40s, which, with a 4.5 point favorite, you want the total to be a little lower. That helps your edge a little bit. And then just, I think it's just going to be a back and forth game. I expect Stafford to kind of continue his ways, where he'll make one or two bad plays and potentially give the 49ers a short field. And the 49ers offense outside of Jimmy Garoppolo is completely healthy. They have all their passing weapons. Elijah Mitchell's back. He's shown very capable this year. They have a great offensive line. So I just think this game's going to stay pretty close. And so I'm going to take the 49ers at plus 4.5. I just think it's too many points.
Agreed. And I'm a little bit worried about our 49ers projections. We've been taking some unders, but I'm afraid that the market is off here. I get that the Rams have won 5 straight games. I don't think they've played that well. I mean, they did not play that well in that Seahawks game. They played horribly in the Vikings game. They had to squeak past the Ravens last week. Like, I'm a little worried about the Rams. I definitely think San Francisco can win this game as a 4.5 point dog. I like that one as well. Evan, any thoughts on the way the Rams are playing lately, and then get to your second and final selection?
Yeah, I mean, Stafford, it's like Stafford, I think, is the guy who's been a little shaky. The receiver core has received, it's been shuffled a little bit. There was one week they didn't have Andrew Whitworth. Stafford is kind of always, he's a really smart guy, like in real life, but he always is like, just had a little bit of a tendency to make bonehead decisions at times on the field. You do wonder about his health. I mean, he's had back problems for a long time. Mm-hmm. And as the season progresses, I mean, that's probably not going to get better. But yeah, I mean, he's got 7 picks over his last 3. And yeah, I mean, there's a level of concern there. I think there's also a level of concern in the 49ers secondary, where like literally every defensive back they have is on the COVID list right now. And mm-hmm. I think a number of them have already been ruled out. That's a really tough game. It's an important game. But I like it. I hope it's a close game, and I hope that we get the win there. I'm going to go with an under for my second one. Never feel comfortable here, but I kind of like this one. Eagles Cowboys under. We're gonna the Eagles are gonna sit, I think, as many guys as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. Remember, they placed like 12 guys on the COVID. I mean, they're throwing Omicron parties in Philly, and I think that like most of those guys that they placed on the list are not going to play. They're going to start Gardner Minshew, and then on the other side, the Cowboys. This is the part that scares me though. And we talked about this before the show, because the Cowboys, all right, so Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy have both come out and said that the Cowboys are going to play this like a normal game, treat it like a playoff game. Except it doesn't make sense for them to do that, because they really can't move their seating. And they really, I mean, they have banged up dudes mm-hmm. that could use rest. And I think Dak should be included in that. Mm-hmm. Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott as well. Some offensive linemen. They just placed Micah Parsons and Tyron Smith are not going to play mm-hmm. in the game. So there seems like enough incentive there for the Cowboys to sit. But, I was talking about this with Daigle last night. And I can't remember if it was last year or the year before that the Cowboys were in sort of a similar situation and they like pounded the Giants. I think it was 2 years ago. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, all these years start to merge. But there was a year like this where in week 17 they just absolutely I think Dak threw like 5 touchdowns or something like that. in a Week 17 game. So that's the part that scares me. There's risk there, but I think 43.5. If I feel confident in the Eagles side, and then if we could just get get Dak and them out of there by halftime, I think we can still get the under.
Yeah, Dallas, they do have a very slim shot at the number 2 seed, and it's another very slim shot at the number 3 seed, but it's really thin, man. Like single-digit win probability or get their probability on both of those. The most likely scenario is they'll be the 4 seed. They cannot fall lower than the 4 seed as they've already clinched the division. So, yeah, not a lot to play for here for Dallas. I do think we'll see mostly backups. And, like, after losing Gallup, like, I'm not even sure they can risk Lamb and Cooper. I mean,
you lose another receiver, like you're digging into Noah Brown,
And honestly, like I think the Bucs were gonna win the Super Bowl no problem, and now no Chris Godwin, no Antonio Brown. Like now they have a major problem at wide receiver, and I think that's, not great, obviously. So yeah, I think the Cowboys would be smart to rest most of their guys, including Dak. All right. My last one's going to be a prop also, and I already alluded to this. Evan already alluded to this. Tyreek Hill props are typically set around 80, 82.5 yards, sometimes like 78, 79. Tyreek Hill's prop this week is 62.5. And normally I think the prop market is like, not sharp at all. We shouldn't really think of anything of it. I'm a little worried that this week, maybe someone out there knows something that we don't about the status of Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, but everything that, I've read so much about this and I can't find anything to suggest that the Chiefs would even think about sitting other than Andy Reid's historical preference to sit starters in the final weeks of regular season. Once he's clinched, he hasn't clinched. He has a shot at number 1 and he needs it for number 2. As I said, number 2 seed in this playoff format is valuable. 2 straight home games in Arrowhead for the Chiefs, I think means a lot to them. So I'll bet on the Chiefs playing their guys, playing them hard. Broncos are just, disaster. And so 62.5 yards, you guys know me, I almost never take overs. It actually makes me feel actually physically ill. Like whenever we bet an over, I have to actually go to the bathroom. It makes me feel very, very not well. But over 62.5, Tyree, like to compare that to what another like George Kittle's opened at 62.5. Like, Brandon Ayuk, we bet under 48.5. Like it's way too close to Tyreek Hill, assuming he plays the full game.
I love that George Kittle under 5.5 catches. That was
that was a good one. We laid a lot of juice on that, but yeah, especially if Trey Lance starts, and you guys can check out. We're referring to some of the official props that we took in the Discord already, but yeah, we took George Kittle under 5.5 catches minus 135. If George Kittle gets 8 targets, he probably gets there. He's just so efficient, but man, dude's just target floor is so low. Tommy, by the way, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to ask Evan.
I didn't go there. I'm just a big fan. My dad went there. I went to Training Wheels, Notre Dame Marquette University in Milwaukee.
Yeah. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, Tommy in chat put in a comment. I never liked anyone who went to Notre Dame until I found the hashtag Tech Lord. I actually think we should get Tech Lord going. But yeah.
The people love the bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Evan if he's seen anything on Drew Lock because he took a helmet to the shoulder last game against the Chargers, and he went into the locker room and got an injection. Is he going to play this week? I'm a little interested in the Chiefs spread here. I think it's at 10.5. And just the Broncos are ruling out a lot of their key defensive backs, and with this game on Saturday night, like the Chiefs, I do think are going to play all out for most of it. Have you seen anything on Lock? Because we could get Brett Rapine here.
We talked about this a little bit on the AFC show on Tuesday that Drew Lock has like an extensive history at this point of shoulder problems. I think he's just going to take another injection and play. But I don't. Bridgewater's on IR, right?
Yeah. And I think Drew Lock is going to gut it out. This is like his big chance to like have a good game on national television. I think Drew Lock's going to play. But
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
We've said it all on the betting show. We'll be back for the playoffs just to have some good old-fashioned fun here. I know Evan loves the playoffs, gets to dive deep into these games, put your hand in the dirt, and really get in there for a full week on a short slate. I believe it will be a 6-game slate next week. We'll be back as long as YouTube allows us to. For Evan. For Mark. I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.